When Newt Gingrich won the South Carolina primary this weekend, he got a lot of votes from Republican evangelicals. Exit polls show that 46% of them voted for Gingrich and only 10% for Mitt Romney.
We want to bring back now Chief Washington correspondent and host of Face the Nation, Bob Schieffer, and political correspondent Jan Crawford to talk a little bit more about evangelical voters, because we've heard so much about this and so much about how important this could be. But at the end of the day, is this going to be, and Bob, I'll start with you, a deciding factor, especially in a state like Florida?
Well, there's not nearly as large of the evangelical vote in Florida as there was in South Carolina. But, you know, the thing about South Carolina that is so stunning, Newt Gingrich won in all the categories. He won among evangelicals. He won among women after this story about the open marriage and all of that. He won among everybody. I mean, it was like, you know, he just walked up there and knocked Romney down. And it's Romney that's got to come back now.
But what is the message that South Carolina voters sent you all? Because as you mentioned, here's the ex-wife talking, never good. When you know, because you have some idea about what she's going to say. His personal problems have been well documented. His political problems have been well documented. But still, South Carolina voters said, we still want that guy. How is that possible?
Because they see Newt Gingrich as someone who can take it to the White House, take it to Barack Obama, take it to the media. That's what they're looking for, and they don't care. To them right now, the future of this country is hanging in the balance, and they have got to get someone who can do that. So they're willing to overlook all of these other things because they see that person in Newt Gingrich.
What's interesting, go ahead, Gail,
but I just want to follow up on that for just a second. If he had not responded the way he did to that debate question, I saw many interviews with people saying, I made up my mind after I saw that question and the way he handled it. Do you think we would have still had the outcome that we had?
Possibly. I mean, obviously that was huge for his campaign, and we've seen so many people saying, you know, he ought to send him a fruit basket.
And he knew it was coming, Jan. He knew that question was coming.
But what is interesting about this, I mean, Romney's whole card has always been that voters thought he was the candidate who had the best chance of beating Barack Obama. In South Carolina, the voters said no. Newt Gingrich has the best chance, and I think it's because of this fight that he showed. You know that
Gingrich has seized electability as an argument for himself.
And that's a problem for Romney, because Romney has staked his campaign and has gotten, he did so well in Iowa because voters thought, we don't really like Mitt Romney, we're not feeling it, he's not one of us, but he can beat Obama, and that's what we care about most. So when you knock that out from it, and the economy. Gingrich also won on the economy, the other kind of key platform of Romney's campaign, lost them both.
He can manage the economy best.
Yeah, that's what South Carolina voters said.
So how panicked are the Romney people?
Oh, I wouldn't say they're panicked. I mean, obviously.
At all? No?
Obviously, anytime you get a 12-point defeat, I mean, a whooping, that's got to hurt. But that's just a bruise.
Now, why are they so confident that over the long run, they can take it to Gingrich?
They've got they've emphasized they've got a strategy to stay in this campaign. They've got the organization, they've got the money, and so they think they can wear down Gingrich, and they see him as a flawed candidate. You know, they see all these things. They think voters eventually, they didn't in South Carolina, but at some point, you know, those women voters are going to start saying, you know, I don't really like a guy who's cheated on his first wife and then cheated on his second wife. So they believe that he's going to, at some point, explode. The thing is, he's already exploded.
Yeah.
You know, he's done that.
And here's the thing. I mean, yesterday, I asked Newt Gingrich, and obviously he speaks from a biased point of view, but why did he think that Romney wasn't connecting? And he said, you know, it's just a lack of authenticity. I asked him, I said, well, are you saying he's a phony, that he's a fake? And he laughed. He said, well, I'll let you draw your own conclusions about that. But I mean, I really think there is something to that. People have not yet convinced themselves that Mitt Romney is exactly who he says he is. And they're looking for something that they can connect with him. And so far, I don't think that's happened. I mean, he just doesn't stir up a lot of excitement. I mean, he's a good man. I think he's a moral and honest man. But he doesn't cause a lot of excitement.
He has a long marriage. He has 5 sons. And to my knowledge, there's been no police activity involved in any of the kids. Always a good sign, I think, when you're raising children. But do you think it's still an issue of the M word, being a Mormon, that people still are afraid and nobody wants to say out loud, and people think, well, do you think that plays any role in it at all, Bob?
Didn't seem to in South Carolina. And that's a large evangelical vote down there. You cannot poll on that, though. I mean, it's very difficult. People will tell pollsters one thing and then go into the voting booth and do something else.
Here is
So
another
I don't
thing
know.
that sits out there is the size of Gingrich's unfavorability
That's right.
rating. And it's been there for a long time, not just this year, but for decades.
That's right. I mean, he's upside down on the unfavorables, while Romney's got positive favorability ratings, and that potentially is a problem in the general election. If Newt Gingrich is the nominee, he's a very polarizing figure. A lot of people just flat out don't like him, and that could be a problem for the Republicans going forward. But you know, a lot of Republicans don't like Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of the general election, we got State of the Union coming up. Is that the point in which the president will define how he sees the campaign and what he will do to try to get reelected?
Yeah, the campaign is underway. I mean, the general election has now begun, and we'll see the White House now lay out where they think it is and what it's all about. And so I think this is a very, very important speech. It's very much like Bill Clinton, you know, as he was coming into that.
Early word is that it'll be similar to the Kansas speech, and she'll talk about fairness and he'll talk about the economy and the 99 and 1%.
Yeah, but remember Bill Clinton, when he got ready to run for re-election, he came out, his speech was the era of big government is over.
Yes.
And we started talking like that. So I think you'll see them lay it out here.
So,
who do you think they most want to run against?
well, this is what I think is so kind of striking. If you think about it, they have laid out a campaign, and they've already started the messaging of this campaign, kind of a class warfare messaging, assuming that Romney was going to be the nominee.
Yes.
That message doesn't work as well for all the reasons Bob said if Newt Gingrich is the nominee, because it's Newt Gingrich out there being the populist, firing up the base. They want Romney, but they may not get him.
well, we've had 3 contests.
I mean, they don't want Romney, but they may get him.
Yeah. 3 contests, 3 different winners. Can we officially say it's a 2-man race in your opinion, or do you still think the other candidates have a shot as we head into Florida?
I think it's a 2-man race.
I think it's a 2-man race, but as long as you've got Ron Paul in there, and he's going to stay. He's going to stay right to the end, because what he wants to do is be a force within the party. I think that's what his strategy is. He'd like to get a lot of delegates, go into that convention, you know, and being someone that they have to deal with. Listen, let me tell you something. I am beginning to think more and more that we might go to this convention and not know who the...
You just took my question out of my mind. Are we looking at the possibility of a brokered convention?
This is your Bob. You've been talking about that.
I think it's a long shot. Maybe I just want it.
I think we do.
I think
Here's the question. Will we remember how to cover it? I mean, you know, it's been so long.
It's been a long time since we went and decided at the convention.
We'll
we
figure
might
it out. We'll figure it out.
Thank you, guys. Great.
Thanks again.